Happy March, everybody. It is a new month. Let's sit down and reset together. Hello, if you are new here, my name is Kelly and I love sharing about our life of secondhand shopping and living intentionally and on purpose as a family. So I began this simple practice of doing a monthly reset. This was kind of modeled after Lydia Sin from Frugal Debt-Free Life. She does one of these every month and I just find them really refreshing. I think it's nice to kind of view each month as a new journey, a new, thing to work towards. And it's really nice to look back and then to look ahead. All right, let me see what things I have written down for us to talk about today. All right, so I have a couple of things that I've listened to that were really good this month. I'm going to talk about books a little bit. I'm going to talk about new rhythms with Instagram and gearing up for yard sale season. And then lastly, talking about my winter meal matrix. All right, so let's start out with things that I have listened to. I really enjoy podcasts that are, I listen to some funny ones, but I mostly listen to podcasts that are helping to make me a better mom, a better person, all of those things. So one that I listen to a lot is At Home with Sally, Sally Clarkson, and she interviewed her daughter Joy, and she actually has a book coming out and they talked all about it, and I want to get that book. It just sounds really great. So it is called You Are a Tree. Let me look up the full title here for you. You Are a Tree and Other Metaphors to Nourish Life, Thought, and Prayer. So if that sounds interesting to you, go and check out the podcast. I'll link it down below. She talks about just metaphors, even of how we use language related to computers and machines to talk to our bodies instead of language of something natural like a tree. And she says that we are much more like a tree than we are like machines. And when she first said it, of course, I was like kind of doubtful. I was like, really? And then as they started into the conversation, it was just littered with all of these terms that we use towards ourselves that really are really intended for machinery, and we are not machines. I tell my kids quite frequently whenever they are needing something right away and they're lacking patience, I tell them mommy is not a robot. And so it is true, we're not machines. And when she was talking about this book, I just thought, I think that would be something really good to read. So I'm adding that to my to be read list. And I think that you would enjoy the podcast. So again, I'll link it down below. The other podcast, I'm sure many of you are familiar with Lisa from Farmhouse on Boone, but she has a podcast. I think it's called the Simple Farmhouse Life Podcast. Is that right? Yeah, it's called the Simple Farmhouse Life Podcast. I had a particularly difficult parenting day. There was lots of challenging. There was lots of just not quick obedience. I was getting quite a bit of pushback and I was just having a really tough time. And sometimes dinner is a time whenever I invite the kids to help me. And then sometimes dinner is, I need to just take a breather and maybe put in a podcast and just check out and let this be my time of therapy, really. So I thought, what can I listen to? And I opened my podcast app and I thought, maybe something will just jump out and feel appropriate. And Lisa's podcast that went up on February 13th is episode 224, and it says, "Are you overwhelmed and angry in motherhood?" And so Lisa was interviewing an angry mama coach. She is a life coach, and she went through, and it was very real. It was not sugar-coated. She went through and talked about her journey with anger. And I know it's possible that people think because I sit and I talk in a very calm voice and people say that I have a relaxing channel that, it might be possible that you think I don't get angry. And I wish that were true, but it's not true of anybody. And it's something that parenting, I think, challenges everything in you in a way that you've never experienced before because it's just so new and different. So anyway, as I was listening to this podcast, it was just so good. It was so true and relatable, and there was hope in it. I think you can have both ends of the spectrum. I think you can have this idealistic, just pray and everything will be okay. And then I think you can have this very, life is hard, we're in it together, and that's where it ends. And I really appreciated this podcast. So thank you, Lisa. Thank you to Natalie Hickson, who she interviewed. It really blessed me, and I will link it down below. All right, so that's everything that I have listened to. Last month, I talked about a couple of books, and I told you that I was finishing up Habits of the Household. I did finish it, loved it start to finish. I plan on purchasing it so I can have it for my collection. I plan on asking my husband to read it. It's just a really great book. I've yet to decide what's next, but I have a couple stacked over on my nightstand that are kind of on the to be read list, and I plan on choosing one of those this week. All right, let's talk about Instagram. So some of you probably have Instagram, some of you don't. There are a lot of things on Instagram that are really great for me, that are really inspiring, that are really teaching. But then there's also all of the stuff that we know comes with social media, the not so good things, the comparison, the distraction, the eating up of your time, all of those kinds of things. So I took some time away from it, and then I kind of came back to it. And this is something that I've done, in recent years, just taking time away and then coming back and trying to find the balance. So I'm looking at maybe doing a new rhythm with Instagram where maybe I delete it off my phone during the week, and then on the weekend kind of just share some highlights. And Instagram really was originally supposed to be inspirational pictures, is kind of how it started, and then it's kind of morphed into video and lots of little short video clips. And I'm just finding that a lot of them are point of view, or can I be honest, or unpopular opinion. And it's just, I don't need everybody's opinion because it can just feel very heavy. And I know probably some of you relate to that. There are some things that I really enjoy from being on there. So one of the things that I'm going to do is attempt maybe to delete it in the middle of the week, and then maybe come back, Friday or Saturday and say, hey, here's what I posted this week. If you missed it, here's the link for my YouTube videos. And then just kind of share some snapshots of inspiration through my week, a pretty plate of food, or something in nature, or something fun that I did with my family, and really kind of hyper focus during the week on my kids and my work and my roles. So I don't know, that maybe is not going to work. I don't know. But this will be my first week trying it out and just kind of, giving it a go. In the past, it's been very hard for me to be in the middle and have set boundaries and actually respect them. I usually either have to do all or nothing. And so I don't know. I don't know what that looks like, but anyway, that's what I'm going to try. The other thing that I'm going to try is to reduce the amount of people that I follow. I've already done this considerably, and I've tried to keep it around 600, but my son and I were looking for some cooking videos this week. There's this guy that I had followed that he cooks, out in nature, and I could not remember his channel name. And so I was scrolling through the people I follow, and he said, wow, you follow this many people? And I thought, yeah, but I don't really want to. So I think I want to just continue honing that in, and who do I really enjoy looking at their things and getting inspiration, and just kind of keeping that number pretty small feels good to me. All right, so I mentioned yard sales. Usually in North Carolina, March is really when we start to see an uptick in yard sales, and then they will really last until well into the fall because we have pretty mild falls here. So I am just starting to kind of make my yard sale list. So I'm looking around our home and seeing what things we might need. I'm also looking at my capsule wardrobes and seeing kind of what pieces I'm looking for. Looking at my kids' things, seeing what shoes they need. Does my son need anything for sports? All of that kind of thing. So if you are a secondhand shopper, if you are a yard saler or just a thrifter, it's always a good idea to have a little list on your phone or even on paper that you can kind of just keep track. It's very easy to get distracted in a thrift store or a yard sale because it's not as curated, it's not as organized, and you can easily walk in and your brain just goes to mush and you can't remember what you're supposed to be looking for. So I always like to have a list if I can. On that note, if you are excited to see yard sale content, if that's something that you are interested in, or if you have any questions about yard sales, leave me those questions down below, or tell me, that you're interested in it or that you're excited about it. I'm just curious how many people actually are interested in seeing yard sales because it's been a while since I've been able to share them. All right, and then the last thing is my winter meal matrix. All right, so I shared, I think at the beginning of January for my January reset, that I wanted to do this kind of meal formula, meal matrix to make meal planning simpler for a season. And then in February, I shared what that meal matrix was. So here we are a month later, and I'm really enjoying it. It has also helped simplify things in my mind, which is what I wanted. I wanted it to just make everything streamlined, make everything simple. I went to Aldi and got in the parking lot and realized I forgot my meal planner. And I needed my meal planner in order to finish my grocery list while I was sitting there in the car. And I thought, don't panic. You know that Monday is a new recipe. And you know Tuesday is a sheet pan or a one pan easy meal. You know that Wednesday is a crock pot meal, Thursday's leftovers, Friday is soup and bread, and then Saturday is a salad. And so from that, I was able to jog my memory and say, oh yeah, I know what I was making in each of those categories. So even just in that, just in my mind, it has been so nice. So all that to say, I have been enjoying my meal matrix. All right, you guys, well, I think that is all that I have for my March reset. We're looking into yard sales. Things are starting to get sort of springy here. I was really hoping for snow, and I just don't know that we're going to get any. And it's at that weird point where things are starting to bloom. And so if we do get a snow, it's going to, you know, the frost is going to kill some of the blooms that we've had. So that part is kind of like bittersweet. I really would like to see some snow. We haven't seen any, but you know, sometimes, especially here lately, that's just kind of been how it is. But all that to say, I'm very excited for spring coming. I'm very excited to start building and changing over to my spring capsule. I think that my body is ready to be in spring clothes. I think I'm excited to wear spring clothes. A couple colors that I'm really excited to wear, and we'll just talk about that in a different video. All right, guys, thank you so much for coming with me for this monthly reset, and I will talk to you in the next video.